Coming up on Mountain News this morning, Governor Andy Beshear stopped in the mountains to visit FEMA intake centers and speak with folks impacted by flooding. Plus, flood cleanup efforts continue throughout Kentucky.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning and a happy Thursday to you, Mountain family. My name's Amelia Lee here with you on this February 27th, and it is 5 o'clock this morning, which means it's time to check on in with meteorologist Megan Dusmall. And Megan, it has been a little bit warmer today. I know I went out with just kind of like a hoodie and some things like that, and I felt perfectly fine outside. So are we expecting that for most of the week or something different?
Unfortunately, this trend is ending today. I know I loved walking out this morning. I didn't even need my coat, just had the raincoat just in case. And yeah, it was a gorgeous start to the day, but temperatures are cooling down for the next couple hours. Here's a look outside of Hazard. We're currently at 57 degrees, believe it or not. And for the rest of the region, we're following suit, mostly in the upper 50s and seeing some low to mid 60s. 64 degrees for Harlan, 62 for Middlesboro, and take a look at Jacksboro, 66 degrees to start off your day. Now, as I mentioned, temperatures will be cooling down. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing these warm temperatures all day long, hitting a secondary high this afternoon in the low 50s. Here's a look at that live pinpoint Doppler radar. As the rain is moving through the past 6 hours, we'll continue to see this rainy start to your day, tapering off as we're going to about that 9 o'clock hour to 10 o'clock, and then we have a little bit of a break before more rain and maybe a rumble or two or thunder can be heard overnight. Amelia.
All right, thank you, Megan. Well, yesterday, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, made a trip to the Commonwealth to survey flood damage. Secretary Noem flew over some eastern Kentucky towns before a news conference in Frankfort with Governor Beshear. It was an opportunity for Secretary Noem to see the damage across eastern Kentucky from the air following the flooding. It was easy to see where the high water had left a mark and lots of debris behind. After the flight, Secretary Noem met with Kentucky officials about the response so far and what is to come. Madison Carmouche has more.
That's always the most inspiring out of an event like this is neighbors helping neighbors.
Secretary Noem says after flying over damage in Breathitt County, she better understands ways to help the Commonwealth now and in the future.
I think it is important that we need to do at the federal level is a lot of education before events happen. Educating the public on what we can do to be better prepared for these type of disasters.
Governor Beshear says the quick response from Secretary Noem helped local leaders answer the needs of their communities.
And I got to talk with folks that have been through this before, who, because of the experience of going through the worst of the worst in 2022, were ready.
Secretary Noem says she hopes for FEMA to transform into a medium that works for the people.
Is that the people that are closest to the individuals that were hurt or impacted by a disaster are the ones who know what they need more than people sitting in Washington, D.C. do.
Governor Beshear and Secretary Noem agreed party lines were blurred for the benefit of Kentuckians.
After landing in Frankfort at the National Guard Armory, Secretary Noem took a tour of the Emergency Operations Center control room. Before that flyover with Secretary Noem, Governor Andy Beshear made stops in Perry and Knott counties. He visited FEMA registration intake centers and met with local officials. He also talked to some folks directly impacted by the flood.
We've come a long way in the last 10 days. Things will get better, and to those that have suffered, don't give up, and we want to be there to help.
The governor says his administration is already working with the legislature to set up a pool of funding to assist with long-term recovery. People in Perry County are continuing to clean up after the flood. Volunteers from all over the country, along with people here at home, are on Main Street and beyond, working to clean up mud and do their part to build back Perry County. Emergency Management Director Jerry Stacy says there have been some challenges on the road to recovery.
At the beginning, it's just, making sure we had people out of harm's way. We had somewhere between 50 and 100 water rescues the first 36 hours.
Stacy says he is grateful there were no deaths in Perry County. We're told at least 87 businesses and 300 homes in our county alone had some sort of damage. Frustrations are beginning to boil over in Floyd County as Southern Water works to restore service. Folks living in Weeksbury say they are being left with dry faucets as others around them get water. A post to the Southern Water's Facebook page says someone broke into their pump station in Weeksbury this week and set back efforts. Community members say they are doing what they can in the meantime.
I have a 88-year-old mother, and we have packed water from the school where I work at. They've had cases and cases of water, and we just pack jugs and make do.
Southern Water officials tell WYMT should they continue at the rate they are going, they hope to have service back in Weeksbury today. The Army Corps of Engineers is slowly releasing water from Lake Cumberland. Right now, the lake's elevation is over 700 feet. They're releasing a little less than a foot a day with combined hydropower and spillway releases. Through the Wolf Creek Dam, anyone in the area is asked to wear a life jacket because those releases can create hazardous conditions. Congressman Hal Rogers says folks can now share their concerns about flooding and the impact it has had on your home or property. The concerns will be shared as part of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Kentucky River flood study. After the 2022 flood, Congressman Rogers says he secured $2 million in federal funding to conduct a study along the Kentucky River and its tributaries and watersheds. Applauded legal aid is all ready to ensure those impacted by the recent flooding receive the legal support they need to rebuild. Flood survivors that may have lost documents or have other disaster-related issues can call the Legal Services Intake Hotline at 1-844-478-0099 for free legal assistance. They say they have assisted more than 1,000 flood survivors since the July 2022 flood.